Right, what's happening, people? Welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. At the end of this video, if you like the content and you want to see more from me, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and also click that bell, because then you get a notification every time one of my videos goes live. But today I want to ask the question, can Chelsea compete next season if we don't make any more signings? There's been more comings and goings at Chelsea over the last year or so than any other club that I have ever known in my lifetime. However, even with the 600 odd million we've spent, the additions of Nkunku, Malo Gusto, Andre Santos, who will all be running out at Stamford Bridge for the first time this season, and the abundance of young talent that we have undeniably got in our squad, I still think we're maybe 2 or 3 players short. We all saw the picture of the players boarding the plane on their way to the USA pre-season tour, and this picture really done the rounds. A lot of people are looking at it and thinking that Chelsea's squad looks really inexperienced and really thin, and to some extent I would agree. I do think that we are fairly weak in a couple of positions, and if you want to know those positions and know exactly who I at the time thought that we should bring in, please check out the video. The link is in the bio. It is with me and Josh Avesti, and we discuss exactly how we would rebuild Chelsea. But in this video, I want to explore exactly what happens if we don't make any more signings. So if we weren't to make any more signings and we're just dealing with the players we have got at Stamford Bridge right now, this would be my lineup for next season. I'd go Kepa in goal, Reece right back. I'd go a centre-back pairing of Thiago Silva and Levi Colwill, and obviously Ben Chilwell at left back. The 2 in front of them at the minute, I'm going to go with Enzo and Conor Gallagher. However, I have been impressed with the likes of Casadei in the pre-season, obviously Andre Santos, so that one could possibly change. And then the forward line in front of that, I am going to go Raheem Sterling on one side, I'm going to go Nkunku, and I'm going to go Mudryk on the other side. I'm playing up top through the middle right now. I have changed my mind. I am going with Nicholas Jackson. Now, in the video where me and Josh Avesti rebuilt Chelsea Football Club, the positions that we pinpointed as areas of concern were goalkeeper, central midfield, central attacking midfield, and number 9. However, obviously, after watching a little bit of pre-season, maybe my mind has been tweaked or changed a little bit on some of them positions, so let's go into it. Starting off with the goalkeeper. Last season, if Kepa got injured or suffered a disastrous dip in form, we would have been able to rely upon UEFA Champions League winner Edouard Mendy to come in. Now, I realised that Edouard Mendy hadn't had a great start to the season. Obviously, he had a few absolute clangers early on. I'm thinking about the game against Leeds. But all that said, nevertheless, he was a proven and experienced goalkeeper. And this season, we haven't got Edouard Mendy there. So we need to really hope that Kepa doesn't get injured, because if he does, we got 2 options. Now, the first is 19-year-old Gabriel Slonina. And let's be honest, he's clearly a talent. And if he wasn't, we probably wouldn't have brung him in. However, to say that Slonina is one for the future is an understatement. When I look back at some of the footballing greats that we've seen between the sticks in my lifetime, most of them were coming into their peak when they were, what, 6, 7 years older than Slonina is right now. And the problem with thrusting Slonina straight into the pressure cooker that is the Premier League is Slonina has no experience playing in a top 5 league before. Slonina hasn't even played in a top 50 worldwide league before. His only experience so far of professional football coming in the MLS at Chicago Fire. Now, the other choice would possibly be our 3rd choice goalkeeper, which is Marcus Bettinelli, and let's be honest, this one isn't really a good option either. Every player has a job and every player serves a purpose, and I include a 3rd choice goalkeeper in that. But let's be honest, Bettinelli, who, by the way, has only ever made 7 Premier League appearances in which he shipped 19 goals, is literally there to provide competition and help intensify training for the 1st and 2nd choice goalkeeper. But let's be honest, Kepa has had a near perfect record with injuries so far in his career. I think about 2 seasons ago, he missed just under 2 months of Premier League football with a shoulder injury, but he's been fit and available for selection ever since we signed him. Now, I would have said the defence was fine, but after the recent news that Fofana will be ruled out for pretty much the whole season with the injury that he picked up, you're now looking at it and thinking, do we need more reinforcement at centre-back? Obviously, Chalobah has featured in pre-season, and I would like to see Pochettino go with Chalobah ahead of signing someone else. So that may be an area of concern we'd come along to. However, we do have 2 areas in that backline that any Chelsea fan knows it's likely we will see injuries at. I don't think even the most optimistic Chelsea fans would say that we can hang our hat on Reece James and Ben Chilwell to be available and fit for selection at every single opportunity this Premier League season. But unlike seasons gone by, we have really good depth there in the likes of Ian Maatsen, obviously Kukurea, and then on the other side we now have Malo Gusto. Now the midfield is a bit of a concern for me and probably our most vital weakness on the pitch, because let's say Enzo Fernandez picks up a ban or an injury. Who do we then start in those two central midfield spots? Are we going to pair Conor Gallagher with maybe Andre Santos or Casadei, Lewis Hall maybe, Carney Chukwuemeka? I mean, look, I seriously like all those players that I've just named, but let's be honest, Andre Santos, he's looked really good before he came to the club and obviously in pre-season, but he has never had any Premier League minutes. So when he does first step foot on a Premier League pitch, I want to see him paired with someone a little bit more experienced. Carney Chukwuemeka looks very talented, and I've actually got no doubt that this boy is going to go on to do big things, but are we able to say that we can 100% hang our hat on him this season? Casadei is a player that has really impressed me so far, and I actually don't want to see him go out on loan. I'd like to see him given opportunities and first team minutes, but much like I just said with Carney Chukwuemeka, do we know for certain that we can hang our hat on him? And then you're left with Lewis Hall, who has obviously featured at left back, but he can come into the middle as a good left-footed option. However, as much as he's impressed me, and I do think he's looked mature beyond his years, again, he falls into the same sort of bracket as the players I've just mentioned in terms of if we are looking to compete for Champions League football. You know, Alan Hansen once said, you can't win anything with kids, and although I wouldn't necessarily go on with that, we need a bit more reassurance of some more experienced players that we can rely on in those positions. So let's be honest now, in the highly possible scenario that we don't see Enzo Fernandez play every minute of every single game, who do we pair in the middle? Are we going to rely on, let's say, Conor Gallagher and Andre Santos, Conor Gallagher and Casadei, Conor Gallagher and Lewis Hall to provide us with the best possible opportunity of securing a top 5 finish next season? Now on a glance, the front line looks fine. Depth at left wing and obviously talent across the entire line. But then in the inevitable scenario of injuries or suspensions, you're looking at it and you're going, actually, only that left wing position does have real depth. Now if Sterling gets injured, you can start Mudryk there and vice versa. But let's say, for example, Madueke on the other side gets injured. You got what? A want-away Hakim Ziyech who can't pass a medical, or what, you maybe drift Nkunku out there, which then leaves another gap elsewhere on the field in that maybe number 10 position where I'm anticipating that he plays. Obviously, you can look at putting Conor Gallagher there or Carney Chukwuemeka, but for me, that's still a little bit too uncertain for my liking. Again, these are all players that I do really rate, and the negative that comes with making a video like this is it can sound a little bit pessimistic at a time where I'm actually really optimistic about the season going forward. But I think you can see where I'm going with this, can't you? We are weak when it comes to strength and depth in a lot of positions in our squad right now. Up top, I actually think we're all right. I've been impressed with Nicholas Jackson. I've obviously been impressed in the past with Amanda Broha, and in the highly unlikely scenario that both those two young players are injured at the same time, we can drift Christopher Nkunku there. Like I touched on before, it leaves us with a problem somewhere else in the field, but I believe with an elite manager like Mauricio Pochettino, he can see us through there. So now we've got to circle back to the question that I originally asked. What happens if Chelsea don't sign anyone, and can we compete without making any more signings? Well, my initial assumption would be that if we don't sign anyone else, we're probably not making that top 5. Now, let me be clear on this, though. That is not down to me not rating our squad at the moment. It's more so down to me saying, are there 5 teams in the Premier League with more know-how and experience that are possibly able to nip us in the race for those top 5? And I would probably have to say, yeah, at the moment. Now, do we need more blockbuster record signings? No. But like I said, we do need depth in a couple of positions. And I know at the minute, the board are looking at going down this route of like young players with a lot of high sell-on value, but I don't know whatever happened to the here and now. There's nothing wrong with signing a couple of players in there that do have top 5 European League experience and know-how. And especially in both central midfield and number 9, we are lacking Premier League experience when you look at us in comparison to our other top 7 rivals. Now listen, inevitably, we are going to make more signings, aren't we? So this video might become somewhat irrelevant. But the problem I have, and this is sort of going a little bit off topic, is that every single club at the minute do know that we need bodies through the door. And for that reason, when there's demand, there is an opportunity to raise the price, and I'm a little bit worried that that's going to happen to us. In fact, thinking about it, a little bit worried that it's already happening to us, isn't it? In a nutshell, what I'm saying is the later on in this transfer window it gets, and the longer we leave it, a £30 million rated player pretty much is going to become a £45 million rated player. So to summarise and ultimately give my opinion, what do I think happens if we don't sign any more players? Do you know what? I actually think we're going to be all right. I think that we're going to see more attractive football than we saw last season. I think we're going to see more intensity. I think there's going to be a feel-good factor around the club. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of a connection from the fans to the current squad that we've got in comparison to last season. Realistically, we're going to look at how the season starts and how we're doing after a couple of games and then probably make up our mind on determining where we see ourselves going this season. But I definitely would say that this squad's easily good enough to make Europa League football. And you know what? With a couple of years we've had, it's been a tumultuous time and there's been a lot of uncertainty. I'd be happy enough with that. However, I do realise that I might have just brought the mood down a little bit. So let's finish on some positives. I am certain without any shadow of a doubt that we are going to bring more players in this summer. We finally have a manager with a track record of developing and moving young teams up the league. And also it looks like we're honouring the manager's wishes and instructions, which is a point that I'm very, very big on. And to finish the video, I want to just remind everyone of how low the expectations are on Chelsea this season. Every non-Chelsea fan I speak to, every pundit that I hear on the radio or on YouTube, and even my friends that don't support the club are all pretty much holding the same opinion that Chelsea are the least likely out of the top 7 clubs to compete this season. So basically, there's never been a season in the last 20 years where the expectation has been this low going in. And you know what? I think that that can only be a good thing for us. Of course, I understand that this is going to be a building season, but that doesn't mean we can't compete for Champions League football. And let's be honest, even if we don't, not many people could look at this squad with an average age of, 24 and deny that this is a team for the future. And for that reason, as patient as we may have to be over this season, I think the good times are coming back to Stamford Bridge. And do you know what? I think it'll happen a lot sooner than people are expecting. Anyway, I want to know what you lot think. What do you think the bar is and the level of expectation should be for Chelsea this season? Would you be happy in treating this as a building season if we see a better style of football, if we have a better connection with the players, and if the fans have more to cheer about? Or are you a little bit more short-minded in your thinking and you want to see us getting back to competing this second right now? Let me know in the comments. As soon as this video drops, I will be trying to respond to every single one of you. So I'm really interested to gauge the public perception on this, your opinion as Chelsea fans, and to find out what you lot want to see from Chelsea next season. If you haven't already, please do me a favour. I'm working very hard to bang this sort of content out for you all the time. So hit the subscribe button and click the bell so that you get a notification every time one of my videos goes live. I will see you all in the next one.